Following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Oh no! We suck again! Oh.
All right, and welcome to another edition of Victory Monday from No Credentials Required. We are presented by the Belly Up Sports Media Network. My name is Ryan McCarthy. I'm one of the co-hosts of Victory Monday. To my right is a man who is the biggest Jets fan in South Florida and also the biggest Panthers fan that I know, Dan Goldstein. Dan, how are you doing tonight?
Not too bad. Not too great after the debacle of what was this past Monday night. But, we live life, we move on, and, hopefully the rest of the season is much nicer than what we just witnessed.
Yeah, Monday was kind of it was a bad time. It looked good for a while, but after that, it kind of went downhill for a bit. We'll get into that in just a moment, but we just want to remind people to please go ahead and check out our social medias on Facebook, follow us on middle social media, facebook.com/NoCredsREQ, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok @NoCredsREQ, youtube.com/@NoCredsREQ. Give us a like. And on the podcast side, find the podcast in your preferred platform, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, Amazon Music, iHeart, TuneIn, Pandora, and if you could, leave us a 5-star rating, leave us a like, or rate us if you're on a platform where you can rate us. Please subscribe, tell a friend. If you're a Jets fan, tell them about Victory Monday. No credentials required. We talk Jets. We're going to talk more this season. We're going to get through this particular week. We're talking about week 1 of the NFL, of the Jets in week 1. It was Monday night. There were a few positives to take away, but there were quite a few negatives to take away too. So let's talk about this game, Dan. I'm going to start with you. I know you got a lot on your mind. Go ahead and give us some thoughts about what you were thinking throughout this game.
It started off interesting. It started off very uninspired. Let's talk offense first. It started very uninspiring. It seemed like when they were coming out, they had the first 3 and out. You didn't even get a good look at them because they were off the field. But then they turned it right back and they get the ball back. And it just seemed clunky. It seemed very short, just very short plays. It's very clear, Rodgers' mobility is definitely taking a huge hit. In his age and his injury, you could see the way he kind of moves, and his foot speed and his leg speed is very slow nowadays. So you can tell that they were trying to just get the ball out. Don't get him hit. Don't get him rocked. Just protect him for those 2.5 seconds and let him pre-read the defense and send the ball out to whomever he calls his read. But they offered just it seemed very uninspiring and very uncreative. Every run play was a toss 7 yards back to Breece Hall. That was absolutely infuriating. You never saw them get any chance to push the pocket. You never saw them actually be able to build a hole. The Joe Tippmann seemed like he got abused by Malik Collins pretty much all game long. They couldn't get anything going in the middle. Breece Hall couldn't break anything open whatsoever. It was just a very uninspiring offensive performance. Granted, yeah, we got the 1 touchdown on the penalty play, which is like a Rodgers specialty. So
40 career touchdowns on a free play. That's ridiculous. That's a ridiculous stat.
Yeah, it's just that's just insane when you think about it. So it's just that was fun and like that was great and everything like that. And that was just kind of a breakdown on the 49ers defense. But after that, they really didn't have any other breakdowns or issues moving forward. I mean, Garrett Wilson was excellent as far as what Garrett Wilson was. Hey, kitty.
We have a visitor. Thinking he would make you happy.
Yeah.
Tag along would make you happy.
Yeah. I don't know what mine is. He's around here somewhere.
He's around.
But it just wasn't a good game. To see that's the offense, to see that was the plan after a 9-month hiatus and all of the mini camps and all of the training camps and all the offensive meetings and all the film review. I mean, you had 9 months to prepare for the 49ers. You had 9 months to install your offense. You had 9 months to draw up new plays, and none of it worked. I mean, literally none of it worked. There was nobody outside of Garrett Wilson that was really a formidable weapon. Granted, Alan Lazard, yes, did end the day with 2 touchdowns and some catches, but I mean, nobody's going to be scared of the Alan Lazard after one game. Mm-hmm. And even though he had 2 touchdowns, it doesn't inspire a lot of trust still. I mean, he had that first brutal drop on that first drive, where he dropped the 3rd down pass that was right in his hands.
Yeah. So
it's just, I don't know. So a lot needed to change. It just wasn't there. I don't know where the physicality was. I don't know where I don't know. They came out very flat. It wasn't quite as bad, but it was very reminiscent of the Jets-Pittsburgh playoff game. I think it was 2009, right?
2010.
Was that the 2010 one, the second year?
That was the 2010 where they fell behind, I think, 24-9 at the half, and they clawed all the way back.
Yeah, but it was just like the flattest first. It was just like such a flat, uninspiring first half. That's kind of what it seemed like to me. Outside of the one drive, they just looked so dead in the water.
Well, I mean, the 3 and out. I kind of expected the 3 and out on the first series. Yeah, Alan Lazard, you got to catch those balls, man. I mean, last year we had the case of the stone hands. I guess they've continued this year, this season, but it's only game 1. And I have to wonder, and I gotta give credit to my buddy Jeff Levac, who's from local Albany radio. He talked about on Monday's program, or was it Tuesday? Maybe it was yesterday's program. It was from local radio. He talks about how we bitch about the Kansas City Chiefs. We talk about how oh god, they're in the Super Bowl again. They're gonna be here every year to year to year. Andy Reid makes his starters play reps in all 3 preseason games. All 3 preseason games. I have to wonder if Robert Saleh not having his starters on both offense and defense was a detriment in preparation to what this game was on Monday night.
I mean, if we would have seen this in the preseason, from the first team, then yeah, maybe they could have seen this coming. But I mean, I'm on Twitter every day, multiple times a day, way more than I care to actually admit.
Same.
And, yeah, and
I'm here for the lulls. I'm not here for the like no, pound my fist in the ground. This sucks. Yeah. I'm here for the lulls.
I mean, everybody, to go to the defense real quick. I mean, everybody said, when you see it was Michael Clemens is not ready for this jump up. And we were proven tremendously right in every facet Monday night that Michael Clemens is a depth player at best, there to fill in for some breather reps on first and second down. And that's pretty much it. And he got absolutely abused every time he went up against Dominic Pooney, the right guard for San Francisco. Seems like everybody got abused by Pooney, the rookie right guard, the 3rd-round rookie for San Francisco. He was excellent. But, I mean, we expected more out of them this game for the pass rush. And, I mean, it seemed like Jermaine Johnson couldn't beat anybody. It seemed like, Will McDonald did have a couple of pressures, but he couldn't close the gap on it. Quinnen had a couple of great pressures, but I mean, San Francisco just had them figured out. They knew where to attack the gaps. They knew how to attack the scheme. They knew how to. It almost seemed like they were just in Salah's back pocket all game.
And not only that, but here was the biggest difference for me. All right, 49ers had a 3-and-out their first series. Got a fortunate fumble from Breece Hall in only the second fumble given up in his career. And interestingly enough, his first fumble period was his first game against the Baltimore Ravens in 2022. That's his only fumble, and 2 years later he gives up another fumble. That's the first time he didn't give up a fumble all year last year. So 49ers score. Jets go marching down the field. They convert 3 third-and-longs, which we never saw last year. And they scored a touchdown. They scored a touchdown in the first quarter. They didn't do that all year last year either. So there was some optimism there. The pass protection was on point for the most part. Rodgers wasn't being flushed out of the pocket. He looked very comfortable. Then 49ers go down and score. Jets get a 3-and-out. They sack Rodgers. 49ers have another long drive. Jets have another 3-and-out. 49ers score, get a field goal before the end of the quarter. And then 49ers. And so the one positive I can take away is that at least we got a glimpse of what Aaron Rodgers could do when he's got protection. Hey, there's Blue. What's up, buddy? But we got a glimpse of what he can do when he's got pocket protection, when he can make spectacular throws, make some really nice throws to Garrett Wilson. Run game's got to get going. We texted back and forth. We were saying, hey, run game's got to get going. They get some push up front. And I said, I replied right back, I got to push on both sides of the ball. They got to push on defense. They got to push on offense. And the biggest problem was after the Jets scored that touchdown, 49ers made in-game adjustments and made life a living hell for the offense and for the defense. For the defense especially. They're running 12 personnel. They got 3 tight end sets. They're crushing it. Their run game is just crushing it. And that's the biggest difference to me is that they made the in-game adjustments. Robert Saleh once again got exposed in that he waits till halftime to make adjustments. They didn't seem to work right out the gate with the 49ers having another long touchdown drive to begin the third quarter. Then they got the interception, which that one's on Aaron Rodgers for throwing the ball late. Got deflected, picked off. That's why I turned off the TV. I said, I'm out of here. I'm out of here. That's going to happen. I've seen this movie before. I'm going to go to bed.
I watched the train wreck all the way. I watched the train wreck all the way through, and I just Saleh and Ulrich rely on the 4-man rush. I mean, that's what it is. It's 7-back 4-man rush, and you have to try and find the space in order to beat them. The problem was they were able to do that because John Franklin Myers was excellent at setting the edge in the run game on first and second down, and was excellent at getting push in the interior when he'd move in on third down.
Mm-hmm.
You decided to trade him, for peanuts, because you wanted to bring in a dominant edge rusher in Hassan Reddick.
Yeah.
So, okay. Reddick's an upgrade on JFM, sure. But you can't sit here and tell me that you couldn't have found a way to make the financials work and kept JFM around in spite, to spite Michael Clemens' playing time to solve this kind of a problem. And then I just don't know if Will McDonald, again, he's very fast. He has some good pass rush moves, but his strength is not there. His size is not there. I don't know if he's able to string together multiple moves yet in order to beat a tackle. I mean, if a tackle gets his hands on Will McDonald, it's pretty much over.
Mhm.
So it's just, I don't know if Saleh Ulbricht's strategy of being able to rely strictly on a 4-man rush is going to be able to work after what we just seen with this personnel,
Also,
especially without Hassan Reddick.
one more. I have a question. I know they don't like to blitz, like to rely on that 4-man front, but if you're if you're far behind, if you're getting crushed by the run game of the 49ers, why aren't you trying something different? Why aren't you trying something? Why don't you try? What are there no blitz packages by Ulbricht that are effective or solid that are effective? I feel like this was more of a feeling out game than it's like an extra preseason game. That's the way I felt like they treated it. They treated this like an extra preseason game with all your starters in. No Mike Williams, barely any Mike Williams, barely any Malachi Corley, barely any Braylon Allen. We had that 3rd and 1, which when they turned the ball over on downs, they had a 3rd and 1, they had a 4th and 1. Breece Hall got stuffed. Why not put in Braylon Allen? Why not put in some of your rookies or other personnel that you drafted and signed to try to make some sort of a difference in this game? Is it too late? Or is it just you feel like you can't? This is the defeatism we've seen the last 3 seasons.
It's very on par with Saleh, and it's frustrating to see
on
that
brand for sure. Yeah,
it's very, very much on brand, and it's frustrating to still see it, this many years into his coaching career, with the New York Jets. It's like, when are you going to adapt? When are you going to learn from your mistakes? I mean, it's just, you can't recycle the same thing over and over when you've had 3 straight losing seasons, 4 straight losing seasons. I don't even remember how many seasons it's been now. It's really 4 straight losing seasons.
This is year 4.
This is year 4. I'm seeing
year 4.
Just like my whole mind is just like the losing all blends together. I don't even remember the last
4 and 13 first season, 7 and 10, 7 and 10.
Yeah, you can't continue to bank on your status quo when you're doing that. Now, granted, you do get a bit of a pass because Zach Wilson was that freaking bad.
Yeah.
So, and it's just like, I don't know how you scheme against somebody that terrible. But where's the accountability? I mean,
where's the urgency?
Where's any of it? I don't know. It was a very, very aggravating game to watch in a lot of different ways. About the only things that went right, like what you alluded to, was the pass protection. Excuse me. Sorry, it's late. I've been up since 6 a.m. and we're filming this at almost 9:30. So, the pass protection was excellent, predominantly, and Aaron Rodgers' accuracy is still excellent as well. I mean, he's able to his arm has not faded. I mean, it's very abundantly clear he can still make any and all throws where he put the ball wherever he needs to. And so those are about the 2 best positives that I can think of, because beyond that, man, that is not a championship caliber squad. Not in the slightest.
Aaron Rodgers took the Conor McGregor route when he broke his leg. Instead of focusing on his legs, he focused on his upper body. That's how he still has his arm at 40 years old, making great. And he made some great throws. Let's not get it twisted. Let's not get it twisted. 40 years old, and he's still slinging the rock. He's still making strong throws. Still making accurate throws. We had a pretty decent game, 13 and 21, interception, a touchdown, and they pulled him late in the 4th quarter when it was basically fait accompli, and they put in Tyrod Taylor to get a garbage time touchdown to Allen Lazard. But yeah, other than the offensive line, this game was pretty unimpressive. This game was boring. It looked boring on offense. There's no unlike the 49ers, who use every single one of their talented personnel, every one of their skilled personnel. Christian McCaffrey was out this game, and you figured, we're gonna crush him anyway. No. Kyle Shanahan, he knows how to get guys going. They got an undrafted free agent from Georgia Tech to play running back, and he gets 149 yards and a touchdown, replacing arguably the best running back in the game when he's hurt. And
I-
and at least they had some imagination. Like Kyle Shanahan's a thinker in terms of his offense because he's an offensive mind. Robert Saleh on the other side of the ball. And I don't know what it is about the Jets. They can't seem to hire a guy who can make an adjustment to the modern game of football. Yes, I know why you hired Nathaniel Hackett. You hired Nathaniel Hackett to bring in Aaron Rodgers, but even Aaron Rodgers thinks that Nathaniel Hackett is not that good of an offensive coordinator. He's just there to be kind of he's just there because they needed an OC. Aaron Rodgers is the offensive coordinator.
They tried to do it with Mike LaFleur, but the problem is they paired Mike LaFleur with Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
You tried to bring in a young forward thinker with lots of motion and exotic concepts, and Zach Wilson was completely mentally incapable of being able to handle and run that offense. And the drafting of years past led the talent level to be severely lacking, when Mike LaFleur was given his opportunity. So it's just not, and now you see him with Los Angeles and, everything he was able to do with Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua and Kyron Williams and Matt Stafford now, it's just, they tried, but it was just the wrong time. I almost kind of wonder now, what if they had tried to bring in Nathaniel Hackett in 2020, that failed, and Mike LaFleur was the guy to replace Hackett instead of vice versa? Where would we be now with LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers? It's, it'd be.
I mean, part of it is that Sean McVay is a very astute offensive mind, like Kyle Shanahan. Robert Saleh played tight end, but he's a defensive guy. He's not going to be. I don't expect him to know the ins and outs of the offense, even though he should. He's the head coach. He should know what works. But the Jets, the offense just looked boring. Boring, no imagination, no use of speed, just like 2020, just like 2019.
It was
just like that.
It was awful. I couldn't stand watching the constant, the run game especially was horrible to watch. There was nothing.
No push on the offensive line.
There was no push. I barely saw anybody try and pull. I didn't see any kind of stunts. I didn't feel like I saw any kind of deception. It was everything.
No trickery, no trickery, no reverses, no end arounds, nothing.
Everything.
Use your speed.
Everything was a toss back 7 yards. So now he's got to get 7 yards just to get up to the line of scrimmage. So he only gains 1 or 2 because your line can't get pushed, and the speed is, and the attitude and everything was clearly outmatched. It was horrible. It was horrible.
Not only that, but you have one of the best run stopping linebackers in the game in Fred Warner, who's going to sniff out the ball every single chance. If you try to pitch it back 7 yards, he's going to sniff out that ball.
You have no shot at him. Like, you have no shot.
To block him.
It was such a.
It was a cluster.
To see that as the product that came out on the field, like I said, after 9 months of no football, is astounding. After everything we've read spring and summer about this team, just astounding. I mean, what were all those reports about? I have no idea. I mean, it seemed like everything in mini camp and training camp was. The offense was clicking on all cylinders almost at every given moment. And
which brings me back to my point. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it brings me back to my point about the preseason. Why don't you? We saw that. Okay, so again, in the Snoopy Bowl last year, we saw most of the offensive starters out there for the first 1 or 2 series, and it was profiled in Hard Knocks. I understand Robert Saleh's concern for Aaron Rodgers. He said, I'm not going to have you play in the preseason. I think Aaron Rodgers would have given his left arm to play in the preseason. He wanted to be back on that field. And I'm pretty sure every starter in that lineup, both on offense and defense, wanted to be out there in the preseason. Why aren't they getting their reps in preseason games and in order to just kind of get their feet warm and in preparation for Monday night? It would have been a more competitive game. I think it would have been a more competitive game if they had those reps in the preseason to get themselves. And it just looked, like you said, Dan, they just looked flat. flat.
I don't know if the preseason would have made enough of a difference to overcome what we saw. Maybe they could have seen that, like, hey, let's try and play a little bit more traditional zone than this toss back style that they decided to play with Breece Hall. And hey, let's see if how to get Malachi Corley a little bit more involved in some gadget trick plays, manufactured touches. Like, that's what I mean. Like, we don't expect Malachi Corley to be out there 100% of the snaps running routes. That's not. No. I mean, anybody that's watching football understands that is not what we're trying to expect out of Malachi Corley. What we're expecting out of Malachi Corley for least minimum the first half of the year is a handful of snaps, 15 snaps, and you manufacture some touches for him. You give him the end around, you give him the short, give him the short passes, the screen, the wide receiver screens with, the tackles and the guards trying to pull out in front of him and let him do work. And like, you did none of it. You was like, look at Garrett Wilson. And then if that didn't happen, what next? I mean, where the hell was Tyler Conklin? Where the hell was Xavier Gibson? Where the hell was anybody else? I mean, it's just crazy, man. That was wild. I mean, to think Tyler. I mean, they talk up Tyler Conklin so much, and he did absolutely nothing. I mean, absolutely nothing. You're telling me Tyler Conklin couldn't put anything together in the middle of the field on the seam? Is Fred Warner like really that good that he's 100% locking down Tyler Conklin at every given moment with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback? You're telling me Aaron Rodgers couldn't find the ability to find him at any point during the game to make something happen, to try and move the chains, to try and bring some positive yards, to try and have somebody else involved in this offense besides Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall? All it did to me was show us, and I mean, we knew this to an extent, certainly, but we kind of thought we would have to rely so much. But essentially, again, it shows us Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall or Breece Hall go down. And again, Jet season is rip up the papers and just call it. We're still at that level of football after all the changes made, after all the personnel changes, after all the talking up and the training and everything that goes on in that building. We're still at the level of football where we lose Garrett Wilson or Breece Hall, and you may as well just count out the season. It feels like there's no way to overcome it. And that's terrifying because the good teams figure out a way when things are going wrong. And the Jets don't seem to have that ability within their coaching scheme, their in-game lack of adjustments, or in their personnel. So,
Yeah. I mean, but here's the positive, Dan. Here's one more positive. It's only week one.
Week one. You're very right.
You've got 17 more weeks to figure it out and hopefully get to the postseason. Right? I had the Jets as my division winner.
I do too.
I had their ceiling as 12, their floor is 10. If they can get to 10 and make the playoffs, great. If they win the division, even better. If they have a first round bye, that's just the icing on. That's just great. If they get to the Super Bowl and they win the Super Bowl, that's the icing on. That's the cherry on top of an awesome cake. And I love me some cake. both the dessert and in the gym.
Yeah. Some good cake in the gym that you go to.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I hope that I say me too. Hey, so I get some of that too, my friend.
I got 14 years of soccer. It's probably my best redeeming quality that I can admit to.
I'm thick with 2 C's, my friend. I guess let's say it like that. All right, we're gonna talk about Sunday's game against the Tennessee Titans, but we'll take a quick commercial break. We'll talk about it when we come back. So stay tuned to Victory Monday on No Credentials Required. This episode of No Credentials Required is brought to you by Invader Coffee. For the coffee lover who wants good, quality coffee with no bullshit and no filler, Invader Coffee is an ultra-premium, veteran-owned coffee company proudly delivering only the best coffee your hard-earned money can buy. They aim to only serve the highest quality, organic, air-roasted coffee beans sourced from free trade farms all over the world. They keep things simple. The best coffee at an affordable price in order to provide you with the value you deserve for your morning boost. 100% fair trade, 100% organic coffee beans, 100% air roasted, 100% money back guarantee. Visit invadercoffee.com, enter promo code BELLYUP at checkout, and receive 15% off your order.
I could use some of that Invader coffee right now.
Oh, dude, the link is in the description. Support no credentials required with the link in the description. But yeah, let me talk about Invader Coffee real quick. Great coffee. Veteran owned. Look, today's September 11th. You know, it's a very solemn day in American history. You know, it's funny. I thought about this afternoon. My nephew is now an EMT and firefighter, so now this day seems more important, and more solemn to me than in years past. So, but yeah, when you think about the veterans who served in Afghanistan and Iraq shortly after this tragedy happened, but when they come home, they open one of several businesses, breweries, distilleries, and they become coffee brewers. And you get yourself some Invader coffee right now. Link in the description on the YouTube side. I'm also going to be in the podcast description. And you can help the show by ordering from our affiliate link. You can also use promo code BELLYUP at checkout for 15% off your order. Air roasted coffee, so there's none of that acidity. I drink it black. I know people like to put sugar and cream in their coffee. This coffee is so smooth and it has none of that acidity that you find in other brands. Like how can I put it? It rhymes with car ducks. All right, it rhymes with car ducks. This coffee is awesome if you drink it black. I drink it black every day. It's spectacular. I got me some Don't Cali My Texas. I also got some break in case of emergency. It's a great blend. They also now sell cold brew in cans. Get yourself some get your hands on some cold brew in cans. I put in a shake the other day. It was awesome. So get yourself some Invader coffee. Use the link in the description on the YouTube side and on the podcast side, and use promo code BELLYUP at checkout for 15% off your order. All right, Sunday, week 2. They're at Tennessee. It's a quick turnaround. They're facing the Tennessee Titans, who fell to the, I would say, toothless Chicago Bears, 24-19 on Sunday. This game, Tennessee had that game in control, but then there's a block punt return for a touchdown. And then Will Levis puts a little bit of mayonnaise on the football, tries to make something out of nothing, gets picked off, returned for a pick six, and the Bears wound up being Tennessee. I'm going to go on a limb and say the Jets had to do the opposite of what they did on Monday to beat Tennessee. But Dan, I'm going to have you lead off here. On paper, Tennessee is not an intimidating squad. You don't know what you still don't know what everybody truly has in Will Levis. You don't see. Technically, I don't see a top half quarterback in the NFL in Will Levis, which means at the very best he's 16th in the NFL. At the very best, he's 16th, but he probably sits more in that 20 to 26 range at this point. Mm-hmm. So you have to think that the secondary can handle Tennessee's lack of weapons. You have to think that the offensive line should have an easier job. The defensive line should have an easier job against Tennessee's O-line than what San Francisco put in place. And you just have to think that Robert Saleh should be able to confuse Will Levis into some mistakes. But any given Sunday means any given Sunday for a reason. Yeah. And at this point, what the product we just saw in the field against the 49ers on Monday, it just doesn't seem like as much of a slam dunk any longer than what we initially thought. Now, do we have faith that, Tennessee's defense should be much, much better? I mean, Chicago had hopes just almost as high as the Jets in the NFC because of how much easier the NFC is than the AFC. So what Chicago's offense was unable to accomplish against a team like Tennessee, maybe Tennessee's defense is a little bit better than, they've been given credit for in every facet. We all know Jeffrey Simmons is a monster, and Harold Landry's very good, but they just don't really, it just doesn't seem to be a lot of other players that truly scream like
difference makers and guys that are going to keep offensive coordinators up at night type guys. I mean, Jeffrey Simmons seems like the only kind of guy on that defense where you really need a game plan on it. So they should take this game. This should be a victory. This should be it should be comfortable, but my trepidation is starting to stink in a little bit if this is the kind of uninspiring play calling we see on offense again from the Jets, just because it's a now inferior opponent.
Yeah, I have a little trepidation too. But at the same time, the Tennessee Titans are a rebuilding team. They have a first-year head coach. Sauce Gardner is going to go against a banged-up DJ Hopkins or DeAndre Hopkins, excuse me. On the other side of the ball, you got DJ Reed against Calvin Ridley. They'll lock those up. Look, the secondary did their job for the most part in containing Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel in that game. They just couldn't stop the run. And the Titans did a pretty good job on Sunday running the ball. Tony Pollard had 82 yards rushing and a touchdown. So, yeah, the Jets got to do their job and stop the run. They got to figure out a way to just get their linebackers involved. I know CJ Mosley was out for a couple of plays last game and on Monday night because of a wrist injury. He's back in the game, but Jimmy Sherwood did pretty good in his stead, right? So, but they got to stop the run. They do a decent job of stopping the pass, but on offense, they got to get things going. They got to jump up early. They got to get up on the Titans early. And yes, they played the Bears. And they held the Bears to under 200 yards total offense, but that's the Bears. All right. I expected the Bears to struggle on offense like they did last year. Even with all the new personnel they got, with drafting Caleb Williams and
DJ Moore and Keenan Allen and Rome Odunze. I mean, they arguably have the best wide receiver core in the NFL. So it was,
and they barely got 200 yards in offense, yet they still win. They still won because of special teams and defense. So for the Jets to win this game, they got on offense, they got to jump up on the Titans early, very, very early, get a couple touchdowns, get a couple scores. I don't care if it's field goals. I don't care if it's touchdowns. I would prefer touchdowns. But if they can get a 10-0 lead very early, and their defense can get things going in front of a raucous crowd at Nissan Stadium, their chances are good to win this game. They just can't be complacent. They just can't sleepwalk through it like they did on Monday night. They got to get things going. They got to hit them. They got to hit the Titans fast. They got to hit them quick. They got to get up on them early. If they can get themselves a 24-10 lead by the end of the third quarter, their chances are very good at winning this game. Very good at winning this game. And, some trivia for you, Dan. When was the last time Aaron Rodgers threw for 300-plus yards in a game?
Had to be some point in 2021.
Okay. Yep. December 12th, 2021 was his last 300-plus yard passing game. So it's been over 1,000 days since his last 1,000 or 300-plus yard game. Granted, the Packers weren't great in 2022, and obviously we only saw 4 plays out of him in 2023, which is another positive. We got through 4 plays. Aaron Rodgers got through 4 plays. We made it over 4 plays. So.
We seem to have a 4-play curse that's happening now the last 2 years. 4 plays last year, we lost Aaron Rodgers. 4 plays this year, Breece Hall fumbles the ball.
Yeah.
So it seems like the fourth offensive play of the season for the Jets. It seems to be cursed. So we got to see if this continues the next year or not. So bookmark this, and let's see what happens on the 4th play next year. Because if it happens 3 years in a row in some facet, then we have an all-new Jets curse we have to deal with here.
Yeah. I mean, at this point last year, Aaron Rodgers was literally on a cart on his way to the locker room to get an MRI on his ankle to see what the damage was, and we found the next day that he ruptured his Achilles tendon. But
I knew it immediately. I don't want to toot my own horn. I knew it immediately. I knew as soon as he stood up and went back down and they zoomed in on the look in his face, I knew immediately. It was like, dude, he just tore his Achilles. I knew it right then on the spot. I instantly went worst case scenario and was right. It's just like, oh, I don't know. We'll have to. I don't want to relive it anymore.
I don't either. That's why we're focusing on the now, 2024, September 11th,
exactly.
2024.
It's done. It's over. We don't have to deal with it anymore. We're into a new season. It goes to past, and now let's just hope we can continue to build towards the positive and go from there. At the end of the day, I still feel like Tennessee's definitely inferior in pretty much every way compared to what we just did with the 49ers.
Yeah.
It should be an easier game. There should be more space. There should be more abilities to make plays and force mistakes on both sides of the ball. So I would think that Aaron Rodgers should be much better or have a much easier time at chunking yards. I imagine Breece Hall should be able to do much better with his touches, gain more space, move more chains, and there should be more ability for other people like Xavier Gibson and hopefully Braylon Allen and Mike Williams types to get involved because you can't let Garrett Wilson be the only focal point. You just can't do it.
No, I'd like to see more. I would like to see, especially if the Jets get inside the 5-yard line, the Titans, I would love to see a 50-50 ball head towards Mike Williams' way because Aaron Rodgers loves him some 50-50 ball, 50-50 throws. And Mike Williams is the type of guy who can get those balls.
I mean,
with them in the end zone.
Anybody throwing a 50-50 ball to Mike Williams, it's already more 65-35, 70-30 Mike Williams' favor just because of his size and ability. But then you factor Aaron Rodgers on top of it with his ability to just place a football. You got to figure an 18-20 ball is more like an 50-50 ball is more of an 80-20, 75-25 ball heading towards Mike Williams. So I'm with you on that one. I would love to see some more like that. But I just want to see him in general. Like I just want to see more creativity. I need to see more creativity. I need to see more holes. I need to see more gaps. I need to see more trickery. I need to see more modernization of this offense. That was so 1998 of an offense, and that's 20. That season was 25 years ago. It's time to move on.
Yep. Same. Yeah, I agree with you. I agree. And look, again, I forgot to mention this in the first segment, but it's worth repeating. I was listening to Jake Gassman this morning, had Will Parkinson on. They're talking about the game, and Will Parkinson made a great point. He mentioned the 2020 Tampa Bay Buccaneers and how they started 5-4 to start the season. Their first 9 games, they were 5-4. They won 6 in a row after that. They got the wild card. They beat Washington. They beat New Orleans. They beat Green Bay. They go to the Super Bowl, and they whipped Kansas City in the Super Bowl. So if the Jets get off to a slow start this year and they can do duplicate what the Buccaneers did in 2020, that'd be great. But this is 2024 Jets, and Aaron Rodgers has come out and said, yeah, that wasn't our best game. We're going to do better on Sunday. And apparently he had a very impassioned speech after the end of Monday night's game, just to talk about accountability and sticking with the plan, sticking with each other. So he's already being very vocal. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. And they can tell that he's their leader.
I mean, the greats are always going to be like that. The greats are always going to be like that. It's very, that's not surprising to anybody that pays any attention. The only people that's surprising to are the Aaron Rodgers haters that want to do everything in their power they can to try and bring him down and belittle him, because of his off the field beliefs and whatever it is he has, and it's ridiculous. So I'm not surprised there. He's arguably him and CJ Mosley are the 2 captains of the entire team. Mm-hmm. I would say CJ Mosley's probably got to be up there for the longest tenured. He's got to be the longest tenured defensive guy, unless there's somebody I'm not on the team. I mean, in football.
Oh,
Not on the team.
Yeah.
I mean in football. I mean, unless there's
Okay.
some depth guy that I'm not thinking of. I mean, and, he's got to be the one that's been in the game the longest. And Aaron Rodgers, obviously has been in the game the longest on offense. So you got to think those two, they let them know like that is unacceptable. That is not Jets football. That is not the kind of product we're here to put on the field. And we all got to get better. We all got to be better, and we all have to show more. You got to get much better than 1% of that. Robert Saleh always said, get 1%, be 1% better the next day. If you do that, you're 365% better than you were with the year you started. And that has to be true. You got to be 50% better by Sunday's game. So you got quite a bit of work to do during this week. I imagine the film studies and the practices are going to be ramped up a bit. They're going to be a little bit intense, and that type of energy is not going to fly for the season where you have this much on the line.
I'm still looking up to see who the oldest defensive player in the NFL is. And there doesn't seem to be, it's all kickers and quarterbacks and tackles and tight ends, but I'm trying to see. I thought I saw a defensive guy, but maybe not
Oldest,
so.
I mean, if Al Woods was
oldest starting defensive player. I mean,
yeah. I mean, if Al Woods had signed to any team, I'd probably argue Al Woods has got to be there. He's like damn near 30. I think he's like 37.
He's 36. They mentioned that today on Jake Asman. Somebody said in a comment to bring in Al Woods, but he's 36. He's 36 years old. And he's coming off an Achilles injury himself. So
yeah, and I mean, at his size, he's going to be ineffective for what it is. It's just not.
Yeah.
It's just not in the cards for him, and it's unfortunate. He had a great career, but it's just he's not going to move the needle.
Yeah, and CJ Mosley's 32. So, but yeah, it's.
I mean, it's not to say CJ Mosley's old.
He's not
That's
old.
not what I'm saying. No. But I mean, he's been in the league.
It seems like forever, and he took 2020 off too.
Yeah, he's been in the league. I mean, I don't remember what year he got drafted. I want to say it was like 2013. He got drafted or something.
2014.
2014. So
2014.
He's 10 years in the league, and I don't know if there's another defensive player that's been in the league longer than CJ Mosley that's on the Jets right now. So
no, I think the trend right now for defensive players is young is like no older than probably early 30s.
Yeah,
you might be right.
Yeah, you need speed. You need good flexibility. You need fast feet. And, the older guys just can't do it. You can get away with it a little bit more on offense, especially as a lineman, but on the defensive side, you got to have explosiveness. You got to have agility. You got to just have that kind of ability to move fast and quick and keep up with the trickery and the play calling of an offense. And yeah, so I don't know. It's got to be different. It's got to be different. Yep. Again, I do expect it. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I do expect a victory. The Jets are, on paper, superior to Green Bay and to Tennessee in every facet. I can't think of a single position group where Tennessee is stronger than the Jets on paper again. So you got to think that this is a win. But the question is it going to be a gritty win where it goes down to the wire, because they just can't pull away at Tennessee and they can't stop them? Or is this going to be the kind of win that we all expected, previously? Where
ugly.
This is over. This is over by halftime kind of a victory.
I was thinking ugly in terms of low scoring. Neither team's offense can do a whole lot. It's a defensive struggle. That ugly. I mean, but yeah, you're ugly.
That's not the way
ugly too.
Yeah, that's not the way I expected this though. After we're seeing Aaron Rodgers come back healthy and all the personnel changes they made, and Breece in year 3 and Garrett in year 3, and all that nonsense that that we were pitched to this whole season. I expected this game to be Jets handedly to have their way with Tennessee and dog walking them into the next couple of weeks. And now I don't feel quite as confident in that. So we'll have to see. It'll be very intriguing to see what kind of product you put on the field, because I can assure you, if you go down 0-2, this is going to be a big problem. Then
turnaround.
And depending on the way you lose, I'm not saying here, but you got to start thinking that if this is a victory where the Jets look outclassed again, you almost have to think Saleh is not going to make it through the season.
No. And the thing is, with the Jets, don't fire their coaches during the season. They wait until the end, which made 2020 such a torturous season.
You don't have that luxury anymore.
No, you don't.
This season is not that luxury any longer. I'm sorry, but if we just saw a flat Jets team come out against 49ers, if we see another uninspired, difficult performance that somehow ends up in a loss against Tennessee, the pitchforks are going to come out for Robert Saleh. Mm-hmm. And then if it continues up to, let's say the trade deadline, and a team that we all thought was going to be 6-2, 5-3 is 3-5. I don't see how Saleh makes it through the season. You have to change the vibe on the team at that point. You would have to get rid of Saleh, put Ulbrich in charge as the interim coach, see if that motivates everybody back up, and salvage what's left of this win or bust season. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can't even this isn't even just like get to the playoffs. This is, you need to win a playoff game kind of a season. You need to win your first playoff game for this season to be even remotely considered a success. Obviously all 32 teams want a Super Bowl, but for the Jets, with the amount of talk they've had all year long and the amount of coverage that they demand all year long, you don't have the luxury of being able to keep Robert Saleh if something like that goes through. You just can't do it. You'll have to make a drastic move, and Joe Douglas will have to do this, because if not, it's over for Douglas. It's over. Mm-hmm. And then the Jets are starting from scratch again. And me personally, I like Joe Douglas. I think Joe Douglas has done an excellent job in contract negotiation when he, with the deals he's been able to get players to sign. He's been excellent at the waiver wire. He's been very good, viewed mostly in the trade market. And, he had his struggles in the beginning in a few ways, sure. But, he was kind of forced to shit hand and just was trying to make, just something out of nothing. So I just don't. I don't know. All this could be for nothing. Jets could win the next 4 games, look excellent, look like the Jets we expected, and it was just shaking off a bit of rust week 1, and none of it matters. But again, if the Jets lose a couple of these games coming up where they're expected to be the favorites, you got to think that the New York media is going to start calling for Saleh's head. And you got to think Woody's going to be breathing down Joe D's neck to fix it, or else it's a dumpster fire starting all over again. Mm-hmm. And I hate to be talking about this already. I mean, again, it's only week 1, but you have to think ahead a little bit and try and mentally prepare yourself for any scenario. And you're fooling yourself as a Jet fan if you don't think that it's a potentially likely scenario if this type of product is the one that continually gets put on the field.
Yeah. Hopefully we see a different result on Sunday from what we did on Monday. But yeah, I mean, I feel the same way. If they're coming up to the game against Buffalo on Monday night and they're in a spot where they're either 2-3 or 1-4, it's not a great situation. But I'm optimistic they can turn it around. You get the leadership. They got the players who would say, "Yeah, this is not Jets football. This is not the way we play. We gotta play better." And hopefully they come out on Sunday and they smash the Titans, punch them in the mouth right away, and then get going and ride the wave to a victory. And hopefully I don't have to drink a hard seltzer on the air.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, I would love to see you drink some more hard seltzer. I know how much you like them.
Of course you would.
Yeah, I know how much you enjoy them. So
yes, but I love the taste of static.
Yeah, but look at the schedule moving up to the Jets here. Preseason, you thought this was a dog walk. You were like, oh, this is so easy, except for the 49ers. So you figured the Titans were a walkover. Titans pretty much had Chicago in the bag until they just imploded. Patriots surprised everybody, beating Cincinnati in week 1. The Broncos stink, but, again, any given Sunday camp. And Sam Darnold and the Vikings absolutely dominated week 1.
Yeah.
So, you can't even take them for granted at this point. You can never take it granted for Buffalo. Pittsburgh was able to pull one out over Atlanta. And all of a sudden, this isn't the easy schedule we all thought it was going to be. No. Just 1 week is all it took. Yeah. 1 week was all it took. And now this isn't the easy schedule we thought it was going to be. And now we have to be much more worried based on what we just saw. All these games literally almost the entire way through now at this point, because the Texans are excellent. The Cardinals looked a lot very good against Buffalo, they couldn't pull
Cardinals
it off.
Are tough. Cardinals are tough out.
Cardinals aren't the walkover everybody thought they were going to be. They took Buffalo down to the wire hard on that one. We don't know what we truly still don't know exactly what we have in Anthony Richardson. He shows a lot of flashes, but is he a complete quarterback? But again,
he had like 3 good passes on Sunday. Otherwise, he wasn't that great.
Yeah, so
it impressed me.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. I don't know at this point here. But you look at it, you look on paper. We should beat Titans. We should beat the Patriots. We should beat the Broncos. We should beat the Vikings. So I mean, even after what we saw, we still should be 4-1 heading into that Bills game. But I feel like we're all way less confident of that fact now because you just don't know. You just don't know at this point.
No, that's why I say let's take it 1 week at a time. Let's take it 1 week at a time. We'll chalk up Monday to a very tough, very humbling lesson because the 49ers were in the Super Bowl last year for a reason, right? And we saw it. And we saw it. It was displayed on Monday. It's displayed on Monday night for everyone to see. And the fact that they keep putting the Jets on national television, and every time they're on national television, they lay an egg. Next game coming up for them on a national schedule is next Thursday against the Patriots. So definitely gotta get their act. Gotta get their act together. Get their act together quick. Hopefully Sunday is a litmus test for that, and we see a completely different team on Sunday. If not, we're going to do some really deep digging. They're going to do some soul searching.
At the end of the day, I still think the Jets win. I think they're just more talented than Tennessee. I feel there's more space, there's more ability to make big plays, there's more chances for the defense to step up and grab turnovers and anything like that. So I think the Jets come away about 23-13 against Tennessee. That's my prediction.
Yeah, I think anywhere between 28-14, 28-17, that kind of victory would be great. Would be great. So, but we'll see on Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern. So we're gonna get out of here for this edition of Victory Monday on a Wednesday. On a Wednesday, it's weird to say that. But before we get out of here, just want to remind you about our social media channels. Facebook.com/NoCredsREQ, Twitter, Instagram, and scarcely TikTok. It's @NoCredsREQ, YouTube.com/@NoCredsREQ. Please give us a like. And on the podcast side, you can subscribe on any podcast platform, rate and review. If you're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, Amazon Music, iHeart, TuneIn, Pandora, leave us a rating. And if you're on a platform where you can review the podcast, leave us a review. We might even read it on the air. And that goes for any one of the shows, whether it be the OG, no credentials required, or on Victory Monday. We'll read a comment. If you're watching If you're watching on YouTube or on Twitter, on the replay, and leave us a comment. Again, we'll read it on the air. So thanks for tuning in to Victory Monday and No Credentials Required. We are presented by the Belly Up Sports Media Network. For Dan Goldstein, I'm Ryan McCarthy. We'll talk to you on Monday, hopefully with a better result. Until then, keep on. I need a better catchphrase for Victory Monday. I was going to say take flight and keep on flying, but they're not doing take flight this year. They're doing jet up. So I don't know. I'll think of a better catchphrase. We'll talk to you on Monday night. We'll react to the Tennessee Titans game.
I think my ending is perfect. Let's just end it with Fins are trash.
All right, say it, Dan.
Fins are trash.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Oh, we suck again.